Hey folks, I'm with the legend Matt Le Tissier, my good friend. Matt, we're going to do a quick fire, and I don't know what the format of this is called, but it's when I name a player, and then I'm going to put you against them, and you're just going to say you were a better player or they were a better player. So it's going to be goalkeepers, defenders, everything. It's going to be the whole shebang. So,
okay.
All right, so I'm going to start off with a cracker. Matt Le Tissier, Paul Gascoigne.
I think Paul Gascoigne was the most talented Englishman of my generation. I bow to his superior footballing ability.
That's very generous. Matt Le Tissier, Wayne Rooney.
Oh, blimey. Slightly different position, but I think Wayne achieved a lot in the game. I'd have to come second place in that one, I think.
Okay. And it's like pure football. Well, it's up to you. You're the one giving the opinion. So, Matt Le Tissier, Harry Kane.
As a goal scorer, there's not been many better than Harry Kane. I've got a lot of respect for him. I think I'd have to take a back seat to Harry as well.
Okay. Matt Le Tissier, David Beckham.
I would put myself up against Becks any day of the week for footballing ability.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd take myself over David.
Nice one. Okay. Your old mate. So Le Tissier, Merson.
Oh, that's a good question. I think we were pretty well matched. I think me and Merce. He was probably obviously more successful because he played at a better club. But in terms of natural ability, he had loads as well. So I think that might be a tie. That one.
Is it? Okay, tie a level. Okay. Jude Bellingham, Matt Le Tissier.
Oh, I watched Jude Bellingham play in this flesh a couple of years ago for England against Italy, and I thought that boy had everything. I think he's going to have a stellar career. I'd happily be, one slot behind Jude Bellingham in the football stakes.
Okay. Cole Palmer, Matt Le Tissier.
Good one. I think quite similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Me and Cole. I think I'd probably just back myself over Cole at the moment, but I think he has the potential to surpass my ability.
I think that's a very fair assessment, actually. Yeah. Phil Foden, Matt Le Tissier.
Again, Phil very naturally gifted. Doesn't score enough goals for me, so I think with my goal output, I would back myself over Phil.
I think that's fair. Paul Scholes, Matt Le Tissier.
Oh, that's tough. Scholes is a very good player. Quite different players in many regards.
Glenn Hoddle didn't seem to think so, though.
Glenn obviously thought that Paul was better than me because he chose him apparently over me for the '98 World Cup. But no, I'd back myself against Scholesy.
Okay. Your mate, Chris Waddle. Chris Waddle, Matt Le Tissier.
Oh, yeah. Chris was one of my favourite players to watch, to be honest.
Same here.
Even when I was playing against him, I liked watching him. He could drop a shoulder and send the whole team one way, and he was brilliant.
Sink the Titanic, could Waddle.
Yeah, I think just for the fact that I didn't have a very bad song in the charts with Glenn Hoddle, I think I'd have to back myself over Chris.
Simon Lights. Peter Beardsley, Matt Le Tissier.
Blimey, you've picked out some great players here, honestly.
Well, you're up there, Matt. So
Peter
it's like this. This makes it interesting.
Yeah, no, Pete was excellent. I would probably back myself over Pete in terms of goal scoring ability.
Okay.
I think my goal return was a bit better than Pete's.
Your old favourite Gary Lineker, Matt Le Tissier.
It's very difficult to compete against somebody who won a Golden Boot at a World Cup and actually be serious about it. But Gary was one of the best finishers around in his day. There wasn't a huge amount else to his game, but at the end of the day, football was about scoring goals, and he was very good at that.
So which one?
So I'd probably have to bow to. As much as it hurts me, I'd bow to the fact that he was a very good goal scorer, and Golden Boot of the World Cup. I can't compete with that.
I think he should get you on the podcast with him, Meeks and Shearer for that one. That's very generous. Glenn Hoddle, Matt Le Tissier.
That's really hard for me to answer because Glenn was my hero as a kid. I idolised him and I just wanted to be a footballer that could do the things that Glenn Hoddle could do, and I think I achieved that.
Yes.
And I think I might even have, with the goals that I scored, I think I probably surpassed Glenn in terms of goals per game output. So I back myself.
Nice. Same, he was one of my heroes growing up. Dennis Bergkamp, Matt Le Tissier.
I think I might just have to bow down. Dennis was one of my favourite players to watch in the Premier League, yeah, he could do everything that I could do and did it on the biggest stage. So fair play, Dennis. I'll take second place to you.
Zola, Matt Le Tissier.
I would say I was on a par with Gianfranco.
Yeah.
You know, the little man could do some brilliant things, but you know, I don't think there was anything that he did that I couldn't have done.
Interesting.
So I put myself down for a tie with Gianfranco.
That's fair.
And what a lovely bloke as well.
Oh, I've met Gianfranco a number of times. He's a beautiful human being, wonderful bloke.
Indeed.
Wonderful bloke. Old John Barnes, Matt Le Tissier. Digger.
Oh, John Barnes at the top of his career was better than I was.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there were times in his early days at Liverpool he was unplayable. He really was.
Yeah, that's fair play. Michael Laudrup, Matt Le Tissier.
That's interesting. Again, very good player. I kind of think I was on a par with Michael, and maybe I probably scored maybe a few more spectacular goals than he did. But he was a player that I admired greatly, but I backed myself against him.
Nice. A bit of a wild card. I think he's underrated. Andre Arshavin, Matt Le Tissier.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I think there were times where he didn't kind of do himself justice for periods of time at Arsenal, but we've all had that level at us in our career.
Yeah.
But I think me at the peak of my form against Andre at the peak of his form, I'd back myself.
Fair. Ruud Gullit, Matt Le Tissier.
Oh, Ruud was a supreme athlete, and I would quite happily take second place to him. He was an awesome footballer.
He was, wasn't he? He was. We didn't see too much of him, but again, Johan Cruyff, Matt Le Tissier.
Again, yeah. I'm just a little bit too young to have seen the best of Johan, really.
Yeah.
So I think from what I've seen of him, from what I've heard people who played against him that I knew, I'd probably have to bow down and say what a world-class footballer Johan Cruyff was.
Here's another wild card, but a top player, Hristo Stoichkov, Matt Le Tissier.
Ooh, that boy had a left foot.
He did, didn't he?
He could play. And he did score some screamers. And obviously did it at the highest level with top European clubs. I don't know. I put myself on a par with Hristo.
Yeah. Similar, well, looks wise and kind of similar in some ways, not quite. But Georgie Hadji, Matt Le Tissier.
Yeah. I mean, that's an incredibly talented footballer there. Great low centre of gravity. You know, with what he did it on top levels that I didn't do it at, you know, and I probably have to bow down to that knowledge.
Fair enough. Romario, Matt Le Tissier.
Yeah, I think, you know, there were spells where Romario was, you know, top draw. They really were. Not sure it was for like a massive length in his career that he kind of was that good. But yeah, I'd quite happily play second fiddle to Romario. He was a good player.
Van Basten, Le Tissier.
Van Basten was probably one of the most complete centre forwards I've ever seen. Quite frankly, I think he was streets ahead of Alan Shearer, for example. So, you know, if it wasn't for injury, I think he would have had an amazing career.
Yeah.
So I'd have to know my place with that one.
You mentioned him just now, Le Tissier, Shearer.
I mean, Alan's the greatest goal scorer the Premier League's ever seen, so it's difficult to try and compare to that.
Yeah.
All you can do, really, all my defence would be in that against Alan is that I played alongside him for 4 years.
Yeah.
So we played in the same team. He was playing as a centre forward and I was playing as a right winger, and I outscored him quite comfortably in those 4 years. So that's all I would say. What I'm saying is, if I'd have gone to Blackburn, I'd have scored more goals than he did.
Probably would have done. That's brilliant. I saw Shearer play live 4 times in different games, England club. Never saw him score live, unfortunately. But okay, this is an interesting one. Teddy Sheringham, Matt Le Tissier.
Good comparison.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of similarities in the way that me and Teddy played.
Yeah.
Both of us relied on our touch and our vision. We didn't rely on great pace to get us in places. And again, Teddy did it for such a long period of time. I mean, if you're talking pure football ability alone, I think I probably had more natural ability than Teddy had.
Yes.
But in terms of what Teddy did and the years that he did it over, difficult to compare with that.
Frank Lampard, Matt Le Tissier.
Blimey. Again, I'd say natural football ability. I would back myself over Frank.
Yeah.
Again, he did it on the big stage. He did it consistently for Chelsea. Over 200 goals for them.
Yeah.
Stellar career there. To do that. But I scored. I think the difference between me and Frank, I think I scored 209 goals for Southampton. He scored 211 for Chelsea, and he played about 80 more games than me.
Did he?
In that time?
Okay.
So goals per game ratio, I'd back myself against Frank.
So you Le Tissier tips that one, really. Fair. Probably.
I'd be quite happy to go up against Frank on a one-on-one.
Yeah, nice one. And the other one, Steven Gerrard, Le Tissier.
I think what Steven did at Liverpool was amazing. He literally carried that team for several years. His all-round game was obviously far superior to anything that I had. So I'd probably. It's weird because if you ask me to pick, because you often get the question, Scholes, Gerrard or Lampard.
Yeah.
And my pick would always be Lampard because the volume of goals that he scored.
Right.
Because football's all about scoring goals.
It is.
Yet in this situation you're talking about, I actually look at Steve and go, blimey, I wish I had as much all-round game as he had.
Yeah.
So I strangely enough, I'd say I'd happily bow down to Stephen.
Stevie G.
But I wouldn't, but I'd prefer Frank in my team. That's weird, that, isn't it?
Yeah. That's brilliant. Well, this is what football's about. It's nuance, isn't it? It's like when you're talking about the top level of players.
It's just giving my honest opinion. That's
Exactly,
all it is,
and it's nuance. It's like, and it's interesting to get it from your perspective because of who you are. Talking of another Liverpool guy, Kenny Dalglish, Le Tissier.
Kenny, I think for me was, in that period of time, was an amazing footballer. That combination that he had with Rush at Liverpool for all those years was just incredible. I would struggle to put myself in the same category as Kenny Dalglish, to be honest.
That's very fair and very generous. Okay, let's. You'll come back into the equation, but let's do some. So how about Zinedine Zidane against George Best?
Hard to compare. Obviously, I didn't see a lot of George play. He was kind of coming to the end of his career when I was just old enough to start watching football.
Yeah.
But from the clips that I have seen, George was an absolute genius, but so was Zidane.
Yes.
And achieved so much more. Obviously, it helped. He played for a better country than George did. Obviously, George never played at a major tournament, which will always be something that people will level at him. But in terms of sheer footballing ability alone, I'd have to say George Best.
Okay. And Maradona against Messi.
I would take. I think it's really hard because Messi's goal output has been just ridiculous.
Come in, Rick.
Goal output has been ridiculous.
What we're doing is we're doing best players against Matt.
Maradona.
We've done a bunch of them, and then we're doing.
You'd go Maradona, would you? Yeah. See, there's an argument for Maradona because he did it in an era where the defenders were allowed to kick the crap out of you.
Cabbage patch fields.
He was dribbling on pitches that you shouldn't have been dribbling.
Yeah, if you're talking just about natural ability, Maradona is the best I think the world's ever seen.
I think he is, but it's almost.
Messi's goal return.
It's so difficult as well with
Maradona
Messi, but
it's the only thing that kind of goes in his favour because the numbers that he's put up have just been ridiculous. Maradona never got those numbers.
Yeah, Messi's the closest. Then I would probably say Pele third. That's Ronaldinho. What do you think about Ronaldinho?
Oh, Ronaldinho, yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't think he gets the
Ronaldo.
recognition.
Like Brazilian Ronaldo.
Yeah, but his figures in the Champions League. I think he scored
Okay,
20.
so Ronaldinho versus R9.
Ronaldinho for me.
Okay. You, Matt?
I mean, Ronaldinho for pure entertainment purposes,
Yeah.
I just thought was an absolute genius.
Doing it against the best defenders,
Absolute
though, really.
genius. Yeah. I mean, two world-class players.
If there was a planet that was just pure entertaining circus football, then he'd probably be the king of it.
Absolutely.
So, Rick, we've done a bunch of players with Matt on. So I'm going to ask you a few players, and we're going to say Ricky Lambert versus them, and just see what you are.
Last question then, because we're going in now.
We're going in now.
We've got work
Okay.
to do. Well, yes.
Okay. I'm thinking of.
It's
Okay.
almost your night tonight.
No, but Doz had me on standby. It was like, just in case.
Just in case. Sub. Les Ferdinand. I like Les. Les is a good friend. Ricky Lambert.
Les?
Okay. Lineker and Ricky. Lineker. But in terms of like actual bits of football ability,
Yeah, Tom, you're talking about players who've played at the top level all their career.
I know.
I've done that for 2 years.
okay. So I'm trying to think of ones that I can compare from the that did your trajectory. Anyway, and we'll wrap it. Yeah.
You can't compare anyone that did his trajectory. You won't find anyone else who's worked at a beach
Oh, I know.
factory.
Oh, okay. This is one. This is maybe fair, and I might know the answer, but in terms of a trajectory, so Lambert versus Vardy.
You just have to say Vardy.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah.
I mean, again, so if you're picking like 1 year, like my first 2 seasons in the Premier League, yeah, they were good. Vardy done it over a 10-year period.
Yeah.
That you've got to acknowledge that. Anyone who spends 10 years in the Premier League is unbelievable. Because I was a very good player,
Yeah.
but I was only in the Premier League for about...
I did 10 years, just saying.
I was in the Premier League for 20% of my career. That's how hard it is. So
Yeah.
for someone like Matt, who spent his
It was
entire
only 16
year,
years. It was only 16 years.
that's it.
Or you were
that's
in the
it.
Premier and the
10
First Division.
10 years was the Prem, 6 years in the
Yeah.
First Division. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, we're gonna have to.
Well, that was a
go
lot of fun, lads. So, what I can't remember now. What was your thing on Maradona, Messi? What was it? Was it Messi or Maradona?
I would have probably just gone Messi because I'm a big
Yeah.
lover of people who score loads of goals.
Brilliant. Thanks, Matt.
All right, mate.
Go